This video is brought to you by viewers like you. Thanks for letting me do this for so long. Hey, come here. Yeah, it's fine, just shh. I've got a question to ask you. Do you want to be chased? No is probably the correct answer, right? Life is fairly challenging at the best of times, and if you're playing a game as some kind of escapism, surely the last thing you want is a shot of anxiety into your system. I've always got some kind of giddy excitement out of being chased in a video game, and I feel like I'm not alone with this. I think the best scenario is being chased instead of doing the chasing, since the price of failure is fairly obvious and it feels a little less scripted than having to tail some guy with a preordained path through a map. So yeah, chase scenes is what we're going to be talking about today. Let me know what you think about them, and tell me your favourite chase sequence in a comment below so I can read them all as I run away from all of my responsibilities. What other way is there to live? Ain't it funny how history tends to recontextualize how we feel about and remember certain events? We all know the line, you can say it with me. Sonic has had a rough transition to 3D. Lovely. Good job. Nice to know that you've been listening all this time. The test's on Friday. So yeah, Sonic's apparently had a hard time adjusting to an extra dimension, and while there's plenty of evidence to back that claim up, let's rewind a bit and focus on two games that quite often demonstrate how fun 3D Sonic can be. The Sonic Adventure games are really fun and take Sonic to so many interesting new locations that you can never really settle with just the one environment. Sonic Adventure 2 has one of the most exciting opening levels of any Sonic game, and this isn't because of amazing level design or fancy game mechanics. It's just a great time from start to finish. It's a lot of going downhill very quickly through busy city streets with the jammiest of jams grooving away in the background, and it's the perfect way to start off a new Sonic game. Just as any positive momentum starts to fade, City Escape has one final surprise for the last stretch. The camera spins around so you can see Sonic's face, and now you've got a giant fucking truck barreling its way towards you at high speed. This is your chase for the level, and it's not too challenging, but it does come at just the right time to round out an excellent opening level. I love how comically massive this truck is. It's the size of most of the buildings either side of it, and it just annihilates all the parked cars in pursuit of one relatively tiny blue hedgehog. I suppose it's not much of a chase since there's not much of a level left, and Sonic is a pretty fast guy, but it's a fun oh shit moment that doubles as a way of telling the player that Sonic Adventure 2 is full of surprises and is only too happy to throw some of it your way. A special mention to Sonic Generations, which brings back City Escape and the gigantic truck, but this one has saw arms and chases you up the side of buildings and is generally an awesome send-up. I need more games to have a big-ass truck come out of nowhere at the end of a level. You can't tell me it wouldn't be an improvement. Chase scenes take on a whole new dimension in horror games. And so they should, really. I love the quieter, creepier moments where you can feel the tension ramping up. But if you're never in any actual danger, all of that tension can only take you so far. Horror games are practically begging for any opportunity to put you in some kind of confined space and have a terrifying monster chase you down. And believe me, there have been some unbelievably scary chase sequences in horror games down the years. Ultimately though, they work off of diminishing returns. The longer the chase, the more you become desensitized to what it is that's chasing you, and the less scared you might be by it all. So ideally, you need a short chase scene that catches you off guard and almost functions like a jump scare. Except, you know, not shit and stupid. Little Nightmares is a deceptively creepy collection of games. They're angled more towards being puzzle platformers than anything more obviously horror, but god damn it, all three of these games know exactly how to make an atmosphere that is just dripping with tension and creepy vibes. Most of the time you're doing everything you can to avoid running into these monsters, but sometimes it can't be helped and you're thrown into a foot race to avoid your grisly fate. One of the scariest sequences in any of these games is the teacher from Little Nightmares 2. Because education is the greatest horror of them all. It's not, stay in school. This all starts off fairly innocuous apart from the signature dim lighting that automatically makes anything look scary. So maybe it's not so bad after. Oh, she's got a long neck. Oh, it's so long. But it's okay, because she's all the way over there, and I'm all the way over here, and it looks like we're in the clear anyway, so yeah. Oh no, here she comes. Oh, she's moving now. This chase at the end of the teacher encounter is significantly shorter than most other chases in this game, and indeed in this video, but oh man, it's gonna be etched in your brain for some time. This is also how I want jump scares to be done in the future, by the way. It's not technically a jump scare, but it's not a punishment or a fail state. It's something reactable that relies on your coolness under pressure to not be caught by sudden snake neck lady in the vent. Quality stuff. Quality pants shitting stuff. Horror games are where you should go if you want to be chased and you want to be scared, but surely that takes away at least a bit of the surprise. You know what you're getting yourself in for, even with a game as relatively quaint as Little Nightmares. You're sitting down to play this horror game with the knowledge that you'd be disappointed and feel like you've wasted your time if the game doesn't scare you. I imagine that the vast majority of people who are sitting down to play Prince of Persia: Warrior Within for the first time in 2004 were expecting a similar game to the Sands of Time before it. You know, something light-hearted and fun with a charismatic protagonist, and then this shows up within the first hour of playing. Hey buddy, you lost? I'm pretty sure Prince of Persia isn't a horror game and you seem very lost. This friendly little sleep paralysis demon is called the Dahaka, and he's a central part of Warrior Within's story, as he is trying to punish the prince for screwing around with time in the last game. Your punishment as a player is to play this game with a heightened level of anxiety, because you never know when the Dahaka will quite literally come out of nowhere to completely shift the tone and pace of Warrior Within. Usually you can explore these environments at your leisure, but when Tall, Dark and Smoky turns up, it's the hurry up you need to whip out the best parkour of your life, especially since the Dahaka doesn't so much jump through the level as teleport and make massive leaps across chasms to close the gap to you. He is of course completely invincible until the end of the game, so there's nothing you can do except run away and seek refuge behind these water curtains that the Dahaka doesn't seem to like. You cannot underestimate how much of a shock this thing is to new players, and I don't think the current generation will understand what kind of madness Ubisoft were cooking in the mid-2000s. The sheer panic you feel when you have to stop and break these barrels? They don't scare like they used to, I tell ya. There are a few ways of making a chase scene more exciting, and I think one of my favourites is taking advantage of a game having fancy movement. That makes a lot of sense, since a more agile character is obviously a lot hard to catch, and this means that you can have all sorts of nonsense chase after them. This is a feature of Ori and the Will of the Wisps, except not one that is properly conveyed to the player. And that's a good thing, because you wouldn't want the joy of obtaining every new ability and upgrade tainted by the knowledge that you're just making yourself harder to catch, and hey, that means we need newer threats that work you even harder. You can't become strong and expect the game's difficulty to lay down and flatline for you. I gotta say though, what strikes me the most with the sandworm is just how challenging this chase is. We've talked a lot about length in this video because some people think it's important, and this chase with the sandworm will set you back just over a minute of your time. But oh my days, does this fucker put you through your paces! It's one of the last true chase scenes in Will of the Wisps, which should tell you just how stacked Ori is for abilities at this point in the game, and it absolutely does not disappoint. The devs did a lot with this chase, and despite being so short, it is a masterclass in level design that is able to draw from practically every ability that Ori has now, with Burrow being the star of the show and having a particularly incredible moment at the end where the tunnel is narrowing and your margin for error is getting ever smaller. Yeah, it's difficult, but it's not unfair, and merely a showcase for just how seamless movement can be at the highest level in this game. It's not quite a window into speedrunning, but I can see how it would get some people there. There's definitely worse games you could choose. If this video has felt like a big waste of time waiting for Uncharted to turn up and you want your money back, feel free to write into the show using the email on screen, and our production team will get back to you in 10 to 15 working days. It hardly takes a scholar to point out that Uncharted is A, more action focused than basically every other game we've talked about thus far, and B, quite good at chase scenes. What can I say, Nathan Drake clearly has a target on his back and bad guys really want to get to him, but usually can't quite catch up to him. There's a lot of chase scenes in Uncharted, and they all do their job of breaking up the shooting and the climbing with a fairly short section of straight up adrenaline. That was until Uncharted 4 rolled around, and seeing as this game was always intended to wrap up Nathan Drake's story, and we're probably not likely to see him run away from things again, obviously they had to go big. Not this big though. You know how I've been chatting shit about how chase sequences need to be short so that they retain their excitement? Yeah, none of that matters when the developers put so much time and effort into one set piece in a quiet part of Madagascar that they were able to keep the momentum going so well all throughout a 10-minute sequence. That's bananas to me, honestly, but when you break this down into its individual parts, it does start to make sense. You start by driving through the middle of the city while trying to avoid the mercenaries who are shooting at you, which often takes you down some interesting side roads full of property damage and somehow zero vehicular manslaughter. I gotta say, I'm impressed. You soon run out of road though, so Nate grapples onto this crane and is dragged through the mud behind it while gradually taking out the bad guys. You also end up commandeering a car or two, or at least until you have to ditch your ride before it explodes. It has both shooting and driving, and a little bit of shooting while driving, which all in all makes for a fun sequence. The final true chase scene comes when this seemingly invincible truck chases you through just about every object in Africa to run Nate and his brother down, which despite the premise is actually as simple as shooting the thing until it crashes. There is a reason why Naughty Dog chose this whole sequence for their E3 demo in 2015, and even though it looks like it's all scripted for the showcase, it plays pretty much exactly the same in the main release. To think that map designers had to model out and create all of this playable space. They literally don't get paid enough. And yeah, those are my picks of the best chase scenes in all the video games. Do you agree, or is there something else you'd have at the top? Let me know in a comment down below, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like and hit subscribe for more, and hit that bell for notifications of every new upload. Last week I talked about the most satisfying ending, so make sure you go watch that. And I also want to thank my top supporters on Patreon, including Scott Riker, Sarah Mallion, and the Green Scorpion. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.